All right, lighting is something that you are going to work on for this badge. Light is, of course, essential for photography. Without light, you cannot produce an image. Without light, we cannot see. So this is probably one of the most challenging aspects for a photographer is to figure out lighting and getting it to be the best that it is. And so the difference between somebody just taking a picture and somebody being a photographer is a photographer will really be conscientious of where the light is and how to control the light to get the best image. So there are two things to consider as a photographer for light. That's the direction. Where is that light coming from? And then the color of the light. Now this was obviously spelled with the British spelling of color, so it's not misspelled, it's just a different cultural aspect. All right, so with direction, you really want to be careful with the direction of your lighting because that can make an image look flat or three-dimensional. Front lighting is easy for photography, but it's going to make your images look more flat. And front lighting is just where the light is facing your subject. Top lighting is just like what it says. It's the light coming directly from above onto your subject. It's going to give you shorter shadows, but they will be dark. And then side lighting is just like what it says. It's where your light comes from the side of the object. That's going to help you if you want to emphasize texture and contours, but you're going to get longer shadows. So here's some examples. All four of these shots are what I want you to experiment with today. So what I want you to do is decide what your subject's going to be. Doesn't have to be a person, could be an object. And you're going to take several shots experimenting where the light is coming from the front, the side, the top, and bottom. So this is just all about experimenting, seeing what you can come up with so that you can start learning how important light is. Now, I will tell you that if you are going to be taking pictures outside or using the natural light coming from the windows, as a photographer, you want the light to be behind you or to the side of you. You should not have your subject be between you and the light, where otherwise you are going to end up with your image being in shadow. Okay, but you can experiment with that and see what I'm talking about so you can get a good idea of the importance of where you stand in relation to the light. All right, so the second thing we were talking about is regarding the importance of light besides direction is color. So color of light is measured by temperature, and it is measured in kelvins. The color of natural light, you'll notice, will change through the day. A lot of photographers like to get the golden hour, what they refer to as the golden hour, if they're taking pictures outside, and that's going to be in the early morning or in the early evening when the angle of the sun produces softer light coloring. Color is important to us because it does have a psychological aspect. It will affect emotional responses. So photographers will group colorings of light into what's called warm light or cool light. And the warm is when we get those tones of red, orange, and yellow. And the cool light is when you get those bluish tones. And then here's an example. So here is the same subject, this lighthouse. And here we have warm lighting, and here we have the cool lighting. And you can alter on your cameras these color effects to change from one to the other, and it's again subjective. Some people might prefer the cool lighting and others might prefer the warm lighting. So we are not going to really mess with the white balance setting of a camera because it's just too much experimentation for us and we've got a lot to do. But I do want you to be thinking about that. You'll notice that just by you altering your focus and where you stand, that the lighting will change. But what I do want you to experiment with are the filters that we have. We have different filters that you can place on top of your lens, and we also have different screens that you can use to help adjust the light onto your subject. So that's all part of our experimentation. So those are the things I showed you at the beginning of the year. You have that big pop-up thing where you can have it either be gold or white to kind of filter it out, or silver for those reflectors. So those are part of your experimentation for today. Not only the different lighting styles, the different directions, but also experimenting with those tools that we have and seeing what kind of images you're able to produce. And then here's some examples of different colored lighting, same subject, same position, but using different, the flash, they're using the tungsten setting, fluorescent lighting, or the fluorescent setting, and then cloudy setting. So I would like for you to stay when we're doing these modes to keep it in the auto mode, because with the auto mode, the camera is going to do a lot of the predicting for you for your shutter speed and your aperture. And until we actually start wanting to manipulate for shutter speed and aperture, we're just going to keep it in auto mode. So that's going to help you to take out all the guesswork until you can start getting a better understanding of shutter speed and aperture controls. All right, now lenses. This is the other part of your experimentation. We will have 4 different lenses for you to use. So a lens is measured in millimeters, or the equivalent if you're doing like a point and shoot camera. They will have their own set lens length. So lower numbers are considered wider lenses, and higher numbers are considered long lenses. We have a standard lens that we're going to use, and we have a telephoto lens that we're going to use. We also have a macro lens and a micro lens. So a macro lens is for getting really up close details, and the micro lens is for getting very wide angles. So just to give you an example, when you're looking at all of these, the human eye sight is equivalent to about 50 millimeters. So when you're doing 18 millimeters, a wide lens, that's going to be more up close. 300 millimeters is going